How's it going? Thralls on Metal here once again. I'm Necrotic Nick, and we're doing another collection update because I can't help myself from buying more metal. A lot of interesting stuff in this one, some old, some new, some non-metal. So let's just get into it. Truth Corroded, Worship the Bled. This is a Australian death metal band, kind of death thrashy. They kind of remind me of Malevolent Creation or Deicide a lot, but with some more metalcore tinged vocals. Really good stuff. It's very blast beat forward, very chuggy. Lots of, big riff moments. Pretty solid if you like thrashy death metal. I mean, it sounds like it could have came out in Florida not too long ago. I like it. It doesn't really stand out very much from a lot of other stuff, but I think it's well executed and it's pretty good. This was their first full length on Truth Inc. Records. They're currently on Unique Leader, where I think they fit pretty well there. Check them out if you like your death metal, thrashy, chuggy, and little with blast beats. And if you have a soft spot for metalcore, the vocals kind of have an unearth-like bite to them. Pretty good shit. Lvcifyre Sacrament. This is an EP from an English black and death metal band, and this shit is caustic as fuck. Real dense, layered, ugly black and death metal. A lot of the death metal bits kind of remind me of Incantation. The black metal parts are very nasty and gritty, almost kind of like a Marduk. Fair amount of blast beats, some nice groovy moments, some kind of breakdownish moments, maybe a touch of doom to it. Pretty solid EP. I think the last track on here is a cover from a band Cat that I've never heard of. I believe they were like a thrash band. Pretty solid release from Dark Descent. They usually don't disappoint. I think this is pretty good. I'm going to have to check out some of their other stuff because I thought this was pretty good. Check it out. Diamondhead, The Coffin Train. This is absolutely awesome. I wasn't aware that Diamondhead were still around. I heard they came back in the 90s, then went defunct again. Been around since 1976. And I guess recently they just kind of started putting out albums again. They recruited this impressive vocalist who I can't remember right now. I believe he's from Denmark. And he steals the show on this. Not that the music's bad at all. Like, it's really good. It's very straightforward. It still has that classic new wave of British heavy metal feel, but it feels a little bit grittier, a little bit more hard rock driven too. And this guy has sort of a balance between Ronnie James Dio and Chris Cornell. The Chris Cornell bits are so spot on, it's almost haunting. I fucking love this. The songs are catchy, like they're very memorable. I found myself jamming this a lot, and I'm generally like jamming death metal all the fucking time. So this was a nice break, and this is how I like heavy metal to sound, when you're going to have a vocalist, just a powerful, strong vocalist. This guy commands every second he's on here, and it's awesome. I heard the album before this was also with him, and I heard it was really good, so I'm going to have to go find that one too. I really want to hear it after hearing this. I'm super impressed with this. Way to go, fucking Diamondhead. Firespawn Abominate. I've been jamming the fuck out of this here lately. This is awesome Swedish death metal. It's kind of a super group. It includes current and former members of Necrophobic, Entombed AD, Unleashed, and Aeon. Really, really solid stuff. This came out on Century Media. This is their third album. Generally, I'll follow anything that LG Petrov's in. I really like the guy. He's a solid frontman. I'm still a fan of Entombed AD. Some people really aren't. I still like him. It's not, the glory days of Entombed, but it's pretty serviceable for the most part. It's kind of that mix between the death and roll and, their standard old school death metal sound. This is straight up death metal. And it's very thrashy in a lot of parts. Like, there's parts in here that if LG wasn't singing and they threw in the guy from Vader, it would sound like Vader. The riffs really would have matched up. Huge epic moments on this too. Like, second track especially, Death and Damnation, one of my favorites on here. It opens up like something off of Behemoth's Evangelion, which I fucking love that album. Just big, strong, epic moments, and then boom into this thrashy blast beat. Fucking awesome. Vocals pretty much stay in LG's lower register. I kind of would like to hear him do his slightly more mid-register more, but that's just personal little thing. I just like that sound, but this is fucking great. It might be your immaterial, I don't know. I keep jamming it, so that's pretty telling. I fucking love it. Check it out. Alright, got a couple from Cadaveric Incubator. I saw they were announced for Maryland Death Fest 2020, and there's a 100% chance of me going, so I figured I'd check them out. Now, this is a collection of early EPs and demos from 2014 to 2005, and this one's Unburied Morbidity, and it's very raw sounding, very much like a demo. This is Finnish death grind, so you get elements of Finnish death metal, but minus the slower, doomier parts, and then just straightforward grind. It's really, really fucking good. This is a little bit, more unpolished, so, I mean, if you're like a real audiophile and you're looking for something that has a very complete sound, this is pretty muddy, but if you just want to hear something super raw, this is really good. And then this is their new full length. I believe this came out this year. It's on Hell's Headbangers, and definitely a more polished sound. I think the drums are a little bit further back in the mix. I didn't like that. And the bass drum didn't have much punch to it. But all in all, the songs are just gritty, nasty, just beasts. A lot of them are reworked from demos on this too, but I wouldn't blame them. They were good songs. Rework them, get a more polished mix, and get them out there. I can't wait to see these guys live, because I have a feeling they will be just as nasty live. Really good stuff. Once again, finished death metal. I'm all over it. So, check it out. Demilich Nespithe. Back to Finland we go. This is one of the most interesting Finnish death metal albums I've ever heard. Now, this band came out in the early 90s, late 80s, and this is their only full length, I believe. It came out in 1993, and I guess they broke up after that. They're going to be at Maryland Death Fest as well, so I had to check this out. Now, this is the reissue on Extreme Music that came out in 2009. It's a pretty solid mix, except there's not a lot of bass in the mix. Like, I listen to music in my car, and I have a speaker box, and as soon as I put this in, the bass and even the bass drums were pretty much invisible in the mix. So there is a little bit of a gripe there. It's not great for me to jam in the car, because I kind of want that bassy punch behind every kick. But all in all, the music is fucking nuts. This is definitely different than a lot of the Finnish death metal I've heard. There's not a lot of the doomy or atmospheric parts. There's some, but a lot of it is very technical, jazzy, kind of weird off-time stuff in here too. Lots of weird crawling, dissonant riffs. It's just strange sounding, but it's really good and surprisingly catchy. So this is one I'm definitely going to be looking forward to seeing live in Maryland. I gotta see how this shit works out live. The deep burped vocals are kind of so-so for me, but it worked. It was pretty good. So check it out. Really good shit. Vulture. Ghastly Waves and Battered Graves. This is a thrash/speed metal band from Germany that make it feel like this album feels like it came out in 1981. It's really, really fucking straightforward, old school speed metal for the most part, but very thrashy riffs. Like, kind of reminds you of stuff like Sodom and Slayer, but then mix in something like Flotsam and Jetsam or Forbidden, maybe, that with the cleaner vocals. This guy kind of has a raspier, lower tone, but this guy gets up and wails a lot on here. And like, this feels like stuff that'd be perfect to score to an 80s horror movie, like a slasher going through a sorority or some shit like that with a chainsaw. This would work. This would definitely work on that score. Really solid songwriting on here. I love it. It's heavy, but it's kind of kitschy in a way that's good. Like, it's definitely nostalgia bait, but it's incredibly executed. I fucking love it. I gotta get their first album. I heard it's really good too. So yeah, definitely check these guys out. My Life with the Thrill Kill Cult. Confessions of a Knife. More industrial, I know, and not everyone that's watched this channel has been a fan of all the industrial stuff I get, but it was something I was a big fan of at one time, and this was the first album I ever heard by them, outside of the track After the Flesh, which was on the Crow soundtrack. I like this one. It's a little bit darker, it's a little bit heavier. Daisy Chain for Satan was a great song in here, and my personal favorite, The Days of Swine and Roses. The songs are fun, they're danceable but dark, and very bass driven, which I think is very interesting. There's a lot of cool slap bass in this stuff, but I won't spend much time on this. If you like industrial music and just weird shit in general, check it out. Hate. Auric Gates of Veles. New Hate album. I've always liked these guys. I always kind of felt like they were a little too close to Behemoth in a lot of parts, but now that Behemoth seems to be moving on to more atmospheric territory, not that they're not heavy as hell anymore, I still think they are. This is more along the lines of what Behemoth was doing, like, before Evangelion or before the Satanists. This is blast beats and just gnarly death vocals, but this time I think they took a little bit more time incorporating some blackened elements. There's a lot more of the, gainier guitars and more tremolo strumming, not a lot of deep chugging. It's still there. It's just they favored atmosphere a little bit more on this one, and I think it paid off a bit. I think the songs are a little bit more memorable. There's a little bit more melody injected into them. It's a solid release from them. I really fucking dig this. Check it out. Bad Religion, The Age of Unreason. I've been a Bad Religion fan since I was a kid, and as soon as I heard they were putting out a new album, I think this is their first one in 5 years, I had to get it. And it's a solid Bad Religion album. Really haven't strayed too far from the formula. You know, pretty much you got your straightforward fast punk with really cool harmonies and the vocals. Greg Gaffin's a very awesome lyricist. You know, political, socio-political. It's Bad Religion. If you know Bad Religion, then you know exactly what this will sound like. This isn't them trying to do any stuff like Off of No Substance where they tried for a little bit more commercial accessibility. It's very straightforward punk anthems. There's some slightly different songs on here that aren't necessarily as straightforward punk as most of their stuff is, but they're also really good. These guys are just solid songwriters. They've been at the game for fucking forever, so I expect them to put out solid albums, and this is another really fucking good one. Definitely check it out, especially if you're a punk fan. And we got a couple more as a pair. Saint Vitus, Children of Doom, and The Healing. This one I think is good. This one had a little bit more of like kind of a European Doom sound. Like this reminded me more of Candlemass than Saint Vitus in a lot of spots. I didn't like the production as much on this one. I think it's okay. The guitars feel like a little compressed. A lot of the songs spend a little bit too much time trying to build up to something that doesn't necessarily pay off as much. But I think most of this album is really good. This album I think is absolutely fantastic. This might be one of my favorites in their entire back catalog, and they have a pretty impressive back catalog. This one is straightforward doom metal as possible. I fucking love it. Like there's so much Sabbath worship on here, it's just disgusting. Not that it's not on this one, but this one, the vocals are more powerful, the songs are more direct, the riffs are much crunchier. I think it's an amazing album start to finish. The Healing, check this one out especially, but definitely check out Children of Doom. It's also really fucking good. It's just, if I hadn't listened to these at the same time, this one might get a little bit more praise, but I listened to this one immediately after and I was like, holy shit, this one's incredible. Check them both out. 1914, The Blind Leading the Blind. Now, technically this came out last year on a much smaller label. This is the reissue that came out this year on Napalm, and I fucking love this album. It is absolutely incredible from start to finish. This is a Ukrainian World War I themed death metal band slash death doom, maybe even slash melodic death metal. It's incredible. The songwriting is top notch. The production is massive. I love the guitar tone. The guitar tone is fiercely reminiscent of Hypocrisy. There's definitely a lot of bloodbath worship on here. Dave Ingram, formerly of Benediction, pops up on here and does some vocals. It's just fucking wicked. Seeing the live pictures of them too, I guess the frontman's mic stand is an old rifle and bayonet with a mic attached to the rifle butt, and they're all wearing like World War I garb, soaked in fake blood and shit. And it's all about the trauma of war and such. And I love historical stuff too, so this really, really caught my attention. I don't know if I can make this one a year-end list because it came out last year, but I don't know, I might make an exception for this one just because it's that fucking good. I would say out of all these, this is one you absolutely have to check out if you're a death metal fan. 100%. Well, that does it for another collection update. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up, and if you're new to the channel, sub. We do stuff like this all the time, and I'm not going to stop listening to music anytime soon. Pretty sure of that. Catch you guys later.